Hey, welcome, this is Jelle growing bonsai, and it seems like this fig tree gets one video a year. Last year I did a first drill styling, and the year before that I showed you how I cut off all these big branches and I made it completely bare. I think it's time to take the next step. These stumps have dried out. I can see here a line in the bark that indicates to me that is where there's no more sap flow and that part of the trunk really is dead. I'm still hoping there's some life here and here so they get more branches, but this stump, that stump and that stump really need to go. I'll do that right now, and after that I'm considering defoliating, partially defoliating and wiring the whole tree out. It is looking healthy, a little bit pill, there's a few aphids, I fertilized it last night. Let's get grinding. I hope that there's still living tissue here, so I'm going to just work my way up from the cuts. Here you can see the first white in the bark. That is a clear sign that this is still alive. So indeed the swelling is pretty much all alive. So I have to stay just on that edge. Well, 2 of the 3 are gone. Oh, I think the lens is a little bit dirty. I'll clean that up in a second. Well, 2 of these 3 are gone. This one, there's still living tissue all the way around. So I'm going to leave it in place for a little bit longer. I might be lucky that something still sprouts. Now, how the world can change in a couple of days, actually in 1 week. Temperatures have peaked. It is now 30 Celsius. Wonderful weather. This fig tree is also loving it. And it is starting to push. Time to put a little bit of wire on. Now what I'm not going to do is defoliate. I've defoliated the last time, but this time I just want it to grow. I want these lower branches to really extend and strengthen. These upper branches, they need to be held back, so they're also going to be pruned. And the top, the sacrifice, I'm just going to let go so that these wounds can start to heal a little bit. But to really reach it, might need to get it back onto the cart. Don't really want to, but this tree is heavy. Can't put it on the table. Yeah, let's try to get some space, otherwise I can never reach the back. Now, as said, I'm just going to wire the things that I really need to wire. This branch, for instance, just comes here from the base and it's trying to merge with the base, so this can just grow. I am, however, going to remove inward growing branches like this and branches interfering with the rest of the tree, but the rest can just stay. Just the leaves so that sunlight can penetrate. I'm using 1.5 and 2 millimeters of aluminium wire. That's all I need for these thin branches. Anything thicker and I'm just going to use guy wires or clip it and get taper and movement. Now, it's not a problem if individual leaves break off. I fully expect that this will happen, and in this case I am not too worried. Inner leaves are allowed to fall off. I'm just not going to actively defoliate. But you know, a full dense ficus is hard to wire without damaging here and there. This is a little bit of a preemptive strike from my side, so that I don't get any complaints when leaves do break off. And as said, it's really about having a little bit of movement and direction in there, so the branch is more interesting. Now these 2 are more or less at the same level, so later on they fill the base here of the tree. This one, I'm going to give a little bit of a thicker wire, and also a little bit more of an upward slant. And now the thin branches here, I can already wire. This really is wiring for shape and not for exhibition, and just needs to hold right. Now it's just a matter of bending it into position. With these lower branches here set, it is also very clear that these branches are much longer than the lower branches. That doesn't aid in developing these, so it's a little bit of a shame, but off they go. They will regrow. No, my wire isn't too short. The branch is too long. These are in the back of the tree, and therefore they don't need to be all that long. And they can just stay here as short back branches that later on you have a little bit of depth and profile. I'm flipping it around so that the other side gets the sun for the rest of the season, and then we'll see what it looks like in a couple of months when it's ready to go inside. It is the end of summer, and I've literally done nothing but water and fertilize this tree over the summer. I've not shown you anything because I haven't done anything. What you can tell is that I've left the wire on way too long, and I really now need to unwire this whole tree. Then I'm going to clean out the pot, remove all the weeds, prune it back a little bit, and get it ready for winter, because in fact that's the point where we're at. It's now late September and my trees are getting ready for winter. Then I'm going to spray it with an insecticide. Then I'm going to spray it with the winter oil in a week or two, and then I'm going to put it inside. Daytime temperatures are now so low that most of the insects have gone dormant or are dropping the last bits of eggs. There's no insects on the plant when I move it inside, and hopefully then until Christmas New Year we won't have any insects on there. Maybe I'll be lucky and all winter long it will stay clean. Now I don't really want to prune back all this growth, but well, it needs to fit inside the living room. And I'm particularly going to prune the longer branches in the top because I don't want the top to fatten up. I still want these lower branches to fatten up. So I'm just going to remove, thin out this top growth. Just weeded the plant, and then it's ready to get treated to be moved inside. I don't use any special winter lighting. They just go into the living room and they'll have to deal with whatever they get there, so they don't grow all that much over winter. Now the white sap that's flowing from all these wounds, of course, is a natural latex, and you can quite easily stop the flow of this latex because it sticks to your hands and everything gets dirty and sticky. And the way that you do that is by just taking your hose and watering the whole tree down. Now when cleaning out your plants, always keep track on what you see on the plant. Here there's a bundle of eggs of something, I don't know what it is. If you do know, let me know, pop it in the comments. But I'm pretty sure I don't want to have it in my house. This pretty much immediately stops the flow of latex. Now if you look at the carved area here, you see that there is a little bit of rolling now of the bark slowly into the edge of the wound, but not a lot. This will take several years to close over, if at all. So this sacrifice, I'm keeping one of the branches on, and then over the next few years this will just have to fatten up 2-3 times the size for this to partially close over. And on this edge here I don't see anything happening yet. It might be that this is also starting to die off. No buds, no callousing. Yeah, we'll just have to see. All around, all the foliage soaking wet. It's a little oil soapy kind of solution that creates a little film over everything, including any potential insect eggs that might want to overwinter and wake up in the middle of winter. So this way you get a complete suffocation of everything that's alive in this tree. It's the second week of May. The ficus just came outside. I'm still struggling with my knee, so I'm not supposed to lift heavy things, and this falls under heavy things. so I'm afraid it's not gonna go in front of a backdrop. At some point I might defoliate partially and I might wire it out again, and once I see buds swelling, then I'll do some styling work, pruning it out, pushing the branches around. And if my knee is healthy, I actually wanted to repot it this year, but yeah, that's not now, that's in a couple of weeks. This tree seems to be one of the trees that I ignore a little bit. It is actually too heavy to move around. So we are now already in August. It is warm, it is about 30 Celsius, and it's perfect ficus weather. So what am I going to do? Well, this tree hasn't been repotted in 3 or 4 years, so I feel it needs repotting. I want to properly wire it out and prune it back, because last year I didn't do that. So that's the other thing that I want to do with this tree. For that, I'm going to defoliate it. That is going to weaken and slow the development. On the other hand, we are still peak summer weather. For the next 2 weeks it's supposed to stay nice and warm. And after I prune it and repot it, then I can wire it out. But first, let me start just defoliating it. Now, when defoliating a ficus, if you also want backbudding, then it's important to also remove the growing tip at the end, otherwise it won't backbud. Then all the latex that comes off, I think I showed it already in a previous part of this video. You can just stop it from dripping by soaking the whole tree in water. So that's what I'll do in a second. And I do expect that after this defoliation, within 2 weeks, the whole tree is green again. Always be careful that there's no side branches, and if there's none, that works as well. But there's a side branch here. When you decide to defoliate a tree like this, don't underestimate how long it takes and how many leaves one of those trees has. And that's only half of it. I still need to do the back. Right, all the leaves are gone. Now it's just a matter of finding the last growing tips that are on the tree, remove those, and then give it the time to really recover a little bit. Within a week or so this should start growing again. But I'm not going to give it a full week before I start repotting. It has been fertilized heavily over the last couple of days. The weather is good, so it is an optimal time to do this work. And I have no doubt that after repotting, within a week or two, it will start resprouting everywhere. Now, normally I would not recommend repotting, defoliating, wiring and pruning all at the same moment. And I can say, yeah, well, hey, there is a few days between the defoliation and the rest of the work. But for the tree, that doesn't matter, of course. However, it is very warm. It is very good weather to work on the ficus. And yeah, this work needs to be done. I've neglected it last year, and summer is not that long anymore. And I have this tree in absolute marvelous health. It's been growing, it's been green, it's been happy, so I think this should be okay. If not, then, well, I'll be proven wrong within the next scenes. I'm now just going to take gently 10% of the root ball off at the bottom, clean out all these weeds and slide it back into the pot. I'm not going to do extensive, massive root work, I'm just providing new space to grow. Look at the gorgeous dense root ball. I just don't have enough space to work here. I think I need to bring a tarp out. I don't see a need to wire this in place, and I'm actually also not going to pay all that much attention to the substrate. Covering the mesh, oh, wrong way around, no. It doesn't glue all that well because everything is humid. And now I'm just going to plant the tree on top of this and fill up around the root ball. This is a nice dense layer for it to root in over the next months. You'll see there's a lot of vines in here as well, And I really like that because this tree of course lives indoors for part of the year. So having a store of water down low in the pot I actually like. I just need to make sure I don't overwater. I guess I mentioned it was warm and not sunny. Of course when you then start doing this, the sun comes through and it really is warm. Right, as said, I've not removed all that much. I've just removed maybe 10% from the bottom and a little bit from the sides. And now I'm just going to maneuver it so it sits solidly in the pot. And then I'm going to just fill it up with substrate and water it in. Now this sits in the full sun. Can't change it. It's too heavy to move it somewhere else and then back. So I hope this will not be a problem. I fully expect the substrate to really condense a little bit more over the next couple of days, but that's not a problem because indoors I want a little bit of space on the top of the pot. I'm now going to give it rest again for 2 days or so, and then over the weekend I'll wire the whole thing out. And now the nice thing of this tree being defoliated is you also see what happened with these grafts that I placed. And to be honest, I don't think any of these grafts on this side have taken. Now this one is quite nice and tight. I think the roots might have actually fused because it's really strong. But this is not stable at all. And this one also is not very stable. Question is what to do about it. I think I'm going to have to nail them in place. Push it in place, put a nail through it, and then wire it out. And then in the next couple of years, hopefully they'll fuse. I'm not going to bore you with all the wiring because, you know what? It's just going to be boring. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of putting permanent metal in a tree. But at this spot, I don't see anything else that could do. I'm also aware that if I drive a nail now through this stem, the stem might very well split. But yeah, that's just part of reality, and over time I do hope that it will grow over the split. On purpose I'm using a very light hammer because I don't want to smash it through all that fast. But maybe this is actually too light. Ah no, there we go. Let's drive this home. And then I guess the same story here. And for wiring, 1.5 and 2 millimeters aluminium wire, just a wire clipper and a concave pruner. And as I go through the tree I also look at what branches do I want to keep and what needs to go. Like a branch like this one doesn't make a lot of sense going inwards from the front. So I might as well just remove it now, as it is still quite young. This I'm of course going to keep because that is going to aid in healing this lower wound. But I don't need all these branches here. I might as well just thin this out. Before I shorten these, I'm first going to wire out and then I can trim back. But here is a three-way split and I need to decide I'm going to keep the long whips or the shorter, more refined growth, as this still needs to fatten up. Here I'm just removing the younger branches. Whereas on top I might say, well, these long branches I don't really need all the way on top, and I might reduce some of these very heavy whips. So I always start at the bottom, fold all the branches down as much as possible, creating space to wire out the next layer. As said, this is going to take quite a bit of time. I've wired out here the first branches, pruned back considerably. I've thinned out this part of the tree and this now needs to be wired, but I've removed significant branching from here and here, so this part remains open because this branch is actually not badly positioned. It is pretty well defined as I want it. Just these long young whips, prune back, wire out, position, all done wiring out. You see that the buds are now swelling again. It is the last couple of days of August, so I do hope that September, October is going to be a little bit warmer than what they're forecasting now. Because right now they're saying it's going to cool down towards fall temperatures, and this really would like to have a little bit more heat to really start sprouting before it goes inside. But I'm not too worried, it is nice and healthy. I've plopped a few cuttings here on the side to really aid in developing this root flare, because the root flare on this is not very nice, and I don't have bags big enough to put over the whole tree to get more aerial roots going. Now I'm going to wait for another couple of weeks. October, November, this will have to go in, depending on how quickly temperatures cool down. Alright, it is September, so it has taken almost a month, but now finally this is really starting to push. You can also see all the buds that are appearing here on the inside, and this is of course one of the aims of defoliating. One of the mistakes that I probably made is the repotting and the restyling, but also leaving tall sacrifice branch in place. But it is coming back, and it will be in full leaf before this has to go in for winter. Now I had brought this in already for winter, but this cut area, I am bothered by it still. Now you can see here on the edges the bark is really starting to separate a little bit, so there's callus forming, or actually the bark is pushing underneath it, so this is still alive. Here there's a live rim, but on this side, let me see if I can flip this around for you. You see, this has died off, this is still alive. So if I take this section out, it might aid in this callusing over more. This, I need to see how far down I need to go until I hit live tissue. But as this is all alive, there must be more live tissue here, so I can get this whole thing to really heal over. So I'm going to carve it out now, so I don't look at it all winter. This is just ugly. So I've now carved this whole lump out, and everywhere I've touched on living tissues, living bark. So this can now really heal over the wound that I have here. And if you look down there, here is another big cut that I haven't worked on, and that was really silly because I've been wiring all these branches out. I've been letting this grow, means I can't get to it. So you know what I'm going to do, right? Hollow that out right now. Can still more or less reach it now. Right, it is May, this tree has been inside for the whole of winter, and actually it's time for this to move outside. The sacrifice I'm going to leave on a little bit longer. The cuts have of course not started to heal over yet. It's been quite dry inside, so I'm going to put it outside. It's going to be raining lots today, temperatures have come up, fertilize and grow so that these areas can now really start to heal over. You can see this nice thick callus here. If I flip it around, there's some nice callusing here as well. This should start to grow over. All in all, this tree is quite good. I think this will become really nice in time. Anyway, this was the third video on this tree. If you want to see number 1 or number 2, go ahead and watch them. Hit subscribe, hit like, leave another comment. See you next time. Keep growing bonsai.